Okay. It didn't switch over. What the heck is going on? See? All right, here I am. Whew! I thought we were going to have another repeat of last week. I hope y'all can hear me. So, John, Rock, and Kiara, I can. So, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Fantastical. Anyway, hello, hello, hello. It's your girl Valerie Mason-Chase again, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach. We are going to have a very interesting conversation on this evening. First, let me say, as you can see, I am repping my alma mater. This is my HBCU, North Carolina A&T State University, down in Greensboro, North Carolina. I was there from 1974 to 1978. Some of y'all weren't even born yet. I know that was a long, long time ago, and I had a wonderful experience when I was there at A&T. My only regret is that I wish that I had been a bit more healed emotionally, and I believe that I would have gotten more out of the experience I already did. But anywho, tonight we are unpacking a word that carries a lot of pain, centuries of pain, resistance, and debate. It's a word that can wound, and for some, a word that's been reclaimed. So let's talk about that N word, not to sensationalize, but to understand. And that's what this conversation is all about, is understanding. And I have three amazing individuals on here with me tonight. The first person I'm going to bring on. Now, anyone who has watched this podcast for any length of time, I've had an individual on here pretty regularly. It's a woman that I call one of my favorite people on the planet. It's not her, but it's someone very close to her. It's her big girl, none other than Miss Kiara. I'm going to bring Kiara onto the stage. If my thingy
Hello.
activates. Okay, how come I'm not? Okay,
Can you
here
hear
you
me?
go. Now you're coming on. There you are,
Okay.
Kiara. Good
Hello.
to see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Of course.
And for those of you who are not familiar with Kiara, I'm going to read her bio. So, Kiara Thompson, a New Jersey native, currently residing in Charlotte, North Carolina. She is a graduate of Rutgers University, where she earned her bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in African American studies. Kiara went on to complete her master's in counseling at Cairn University, where she graduated in 2023. A licensed associate counselor, Kiara is passionate about supporting youth and young adults as they navigate emotional, relational, and mental health challenges. She approaches her work with empathy, cultural awareness, and a deep commitment to helping clients grow and heal. Outside of her professional role, Kiara enjoys serving in her church community, new places, spending quality time with loved ones, and creating uplifting content designed to encourage and empower others. And I've seen a lot of that content, and it definitely uplifts and empowers. She's over on TikTok. So, Kiara, thank you again for being here with us tonight.
Of
I
course.
am going
Thank
to
you for
bring
having me.
on our next guest. That is Rock. Hold on, here we come. Let me see how old it's gonna play out. There you is. Rock is my nephew.
Hey,
Ain't he handsome, y'all? Okay, so I'm gonna read Rock's bio. Taiwan Rock Davis is the owner of Rockland Marketing Strategies as well as Rockland Life and Relationship Coaching. With more than 15 years of professional marketing experience, he has worked with major music labels including Def Jam, Sony, and A&M, building a respected reputation for strategic branding and influential campaign development. In addition to his work in marketing, Rock is a certified life coach of 8 years, currently supporting a dedicated clientele of 50. His coaching approach is rooted in authenticity, connection, and relational clarity. He values family, friendship, and the pursuit of meaningful relationships. Rock's mission is to help others achieve real happiness, not the illusion of fulfillment that society often portrays. Guided by a belief in genuine self discovery and intentional living, he strives to create positive, lasting impact in the lives of everyone he encounters. So, welcome, Rock. Welcome, welcome.
I love that.
And I am going to bring on our last guest. And listen, all my guests are special, but this one is extra special. But this is my baby boy. This and my baby boy by birth and my baby boy by heart. This is none other than John Chase. So John
Well,
Chase Esquire is a principled, community-minded attorney whose career has been guided by integrity, advocacy, and a steadfast belief in justice. A graduate of Widener University School of Law, John has devoted the majority of his legal work to employment and other civil rights matters. Known for his honesty, calm presence, and thoughtful approach, John has earned a reputation for being a strong legal advocate and a deeply empathetic listener. His work reflects a commitment not only to the law, but to the people behind each case. He leads with fairness, clarity, and courage, consistently championing what is right, even when the path is complex. And I know this because we just had a lively debate earlier today. John is the father of two. He brings quiet strength and a grounded wisdom to every space he inhabits, whether in a courtroom, a boardroom, or around the dinner table. In all aspects of life, John is guided by the belief that integrity is simply a professional standard, but a way of living. Welcome, son. Thank you for being here this
thank
evening.
you. I appreciate the very kind introduction. Thank you.
Of course, baby boy. Oh, you know what? I think that there are some comments. Let me get over here. And for those of you who are live, um, I just want to tell you, I am utilizing a new platform for the second time, and I'm still attempting to work out some of the kinks. So if there are glitches, please bear with me. Give your sister some grace. So I want to get right into this conversation of talking about the N word and should we, and by we, I mean us, people of color, use the N word. So looking at it historically, what was the original intent and function of the N word in American society, and how does that history continue to shape its cultural weight today? And in first, y'all don't have to be all polite, waiting to see who's going to speak. Whoever wants to tackle can tackle. Historically, talk about the background of this word. Oh, y'all gonna make me call on y'all.
Yeah,
Okay, since you my son, I'm calling on you, John.
fine. I'll go first. And I did some brief research into it, although it's pretty obvious the historical context of it, just to get an idea as to
Mhm,
when it became, I guess, common use. And my research showed me that it started being used around, I think, like the mid 1700s. And temporally speaking, that
mhm,
was at the height of the transatlantic slave trade. So obviously, it was used as a means to distinguish us from everybody
mhm,
else. When I say us, I mean black people, obviously. and not just distinguish us,
Mhm.
but distinguish us and make us feel less than, to communicate the idea that black people, they're subhuman, they're a different class of human. And that word took on that meaning
Right.
historically, and you can't analyze its current use without understanding that historical context first. So you got to discuss that awful history behind the word.
Yes, yes, I agree. And either of the other guests want to add anything to that?
So I found it a little interesting when I researched it some years ago. When you go to Wikipedia, it used to say,
Mhm.
lazy, uh,
Mm.
of low value. It never mentioned anything about a color.
Mm,
And now,
Mhm.
this present day, I was looking it up and it said nigga is a racial slur directed at black people. So just to
Mhm.
make it really,
Mhm.
really clear. Um, I found it. I guess I found it a little interesting that the two formalities were a little different from what it used to be to what it is now. Because I mean, essentially, you could not call a slave uh, lazy.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
their
Right.
sole purpose was to work, and they used to beat them and rape them and pillage them to work. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know. I find it's a distinct talking point, but it depends on who it's coming from.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna get some more into that about the who and the where and the why. Sister Kiara, Sister
Yeah,
Kiara, you have anything to add?
I agree with everything that has been said, but I guess I think part of your question was about like current and how the history of it kind of
Mhm.
plays into what's going on now. I think, a lot of because a lot of what has happened in the past hasn't been rectified, I think it still carries
Mm.
um much of the same weight that it did, back when it was when the transatlantic slave trade was going on. And so, yeah, that's just my little added piece to that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's interesting about carrying the same weight. I think for some of us it does, but for others of us, not necessarily. And we're going to talk some more about that. And there's been this whole idea of claiming the word.
Hmm.
So, what does reclaiming really mean when you look at it from an emotional, social, and political perspective? And further, is it possible to reclaim every word, or particularly this word, that is rooted in violence? What does reclaiming really mean? So, y'all being all polite again. Don't make me call on y'all again because I'm going to do it.
I'll jump in again. My understanding of when people say they reclaim the N word is
Hmm.
within the black community, we have turned it into, I guess you can call it a term of endearment to some extent. You use it in
Mm.
everyday conversation to refer to your friends, your family, or anybody basically, regardless if they're black, white, or some other race. It doesn't matter. I think I haven't researched how that came to be, but just based on
Hmm.
my observations, it's likely was done to, I guess, lessen the sting of the word, or maybe, I don't
Yep.
know, just flip it on its head almost. It was used in such a negative way for centuries. And then relatively recently, it's become just a regular word that people use, black and everybody else. But blacks have, to some extent, you said, reclaimed it, making it ours. Like we're the
Mm.
only ones that are allowed to use it. If someone else uses it, that's a problem. That's our word. You might have used it
Yeah.
to lessen us back in the day,
Mm.
but now we are trying to use it to some extent to empower ourselves or show that we are free or liberated, whatever word you want to use, I guess.
Hmm.
But it's no
Hmm.
longer their word, it's ours. We get to set the terms as to when and how it's used and who's allowed to use it.
Okay. I hear that.
Let me see. Reclaiming. Hmm. In the famous words of one of my favorite comedians, Paul Mooney, I see niggas so much that it make my teeth white. Let
Yeah.
me one thing about black people are literally one of the most resilient people in this world. We have
Yeah.
learned, we are born and bred to take the filth, the garbage, and make it into a beautiful landscape of whatever we want it to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not for nothing, like I don't know what my attraction was to Paul Mooney. I just think he was a brilliant mind, and the basis of his jokes were about that word.
That word,
And
yes,
I
absolutely. Hmm.
really, as well as I was always heavy into Dick Gregory as well. Like these are probably like two of my favorite idols. And it's funny that they're both embedded in comedy. But
Hmm.
one of the things that they always point out is that just the basis of that we are a resilient people, and we have everything that they throw at us. We have taken it
We still survive.
and still survive. And they're even now,
Yeah.
even in present now, they're doing everything. We have been the poster child for welfare. We have been the poster child for laziness. We have been the
Hmm.
poster child for deadbeat. And no matter how many times over we've proven them wrong, we still the poster child of it. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
no matter what we say, no matter what we do, the way however they choose to see you is what it's going to be. We have
Yeah.
taken this word, not for nothing. I've heard it all my life,
Mhm.
all my life.
And you know what's
Uh,
interesting, Rock?
yeah,
I have heard it all of my life also, but I have heard it in a very different text
right.
than you and some of the younger people who use it themselves.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I've
Hmm.
never been called the ER. Oh no, I did, but it was that person had a consequence. Um, but yeah, I mean, I have statute of limitations. Like the guy thought, I was in a certain area in Brooklyn, and he thought, like, he was going to yell it out his window, and it
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
happened. Like, it's crazy how God works, because he ended up giving him a little traffic, and he was in my rear view, and I just decided to get out the car. And that day he got hands and feet,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I felt like I did that for my ancestors, and they were proud, and I
Okay.
loved it. I loved it. I loved every bit of it.
Okay. I don't advocate violence, but I hear you, nephew.
I don't
I
advocate
hear
it
you.
either, but sometimes the hands and feet, is it solves a lot of problems sometimes. Sometimes.
I hear you. I hear you. So, Kiara, what are your thoughts on reclaiming this word?
My thoughts are actually kind of similar. I think that as Black people, we have taken everything in every circumstance and attempted to make it our own and have done it with excellence. And so I'm just thinking,
Hmm.
like, you know, not being given the same opportunities, let's say in the creative art space, right? Like not being able
Hmm.
to be a part of certain academies and things like that. We're making music regardless, right?
Yeah.
Not having access to certain spaces, and we're outside with it, like on the basketball court
Mm.
and making beats with our hands and our bodies and whatever else, right? Like
Right.
always taking the scraps and making something out of it with our food, right? They gave us the absolute scraps of the animals and we season it up, and now it's a delicacy. Now they're trying to serve it in the restaurants, right?
Still not eating it. I'm free.
I'm still not eating it
Uh-huh.
either, but
I'm free. I'm
Yeah.
not eating it.
Yeah. I
but
get that.
I think it's along the lines of that, right? Like
Hmm.
we have to be resilient and survive through this thing. It's like, how are we going to make this fun? How are we going to make this endearing? How are we going to make this like something that we can take and pass on to generations and things like that? And maybe this is not like as deep as some of the other examples I gave in terms of like, you know, the N word, but that's kind
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
where where my mind went in terms of like
Okay.
what we do with the things that have been given to us to
Hmm.
hold us back, that
Yeah.
we then use to elevate ourselves.
So, does it make a difference whether you say it with the ER or you say it with the A or an AH or however people might pronounce it or spell it in that manner? Does that make a difference in terms of the meaning and the impact?
Yeah, it does. It does. It does make a difference. It also makes a difference who it's coming from. It also makes a difference in the context of the person that it's coming from. You know, I've never heard, black people going around saying ER. Like they use the A in the same context, but the A is used in different contexts. You can use it in terms of endearment. You can use it in terms of being angry. You can use it in terms
Mm,
of look at that over there. It's, I mean, any way you choose to use it, again, it depends on who it's coming from, the context of what it's coming from. And I think our main focus will always be, as long as it don't come from somebody white.
Hmm.
ERA, whatever letters, as long as it don't come from them, it don't matter.
okay. Kara and
Now,
John?
I think
Agreed.
when you add the A to instead of the hard ER at the end, that's part of the process of
Hmm.
reclaiming it. Is that in the black community we always use it more often than not we'll always use it with just the A instead of the ER because
Mhm.
we mean it differently usually. So
Okay.
it's
Okay.
it's we're not using it in our own circle to insult each other more often than
Exactly.
not.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we almost remix the word again, like I said earlier, where it's like it's ours now. The people who might wish to do harm to us, they're going to use the ER. We're not going to do that amongst ourselves because we reclaimed it basically.
Yeah.
Well, like Rock said, at the end of the day, the most important part is who's using it and what's
Who's
their intent behind
but yeah, but I gotta say, as a black woman who was born in 1956, I'm not comfortable with anybody saying it.
it.
Mhm.
It bothers me, and one of the things that bothers me about it when I hear our people using it and I hear it in songs and I hear it said on the street and whatnot, and I'm not saying I've never said it, but I would never say it in mixed company. I'll put it like that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Because I I would never ever want to give the impression to someone else who's outside of our community that it's okay for them to use that word.
Yeah.
And evidenced by some of the comments that were made under the Facebook post for this episode, they believe that if we say it, they should be able to say it. I cannot get with that. And I believe it's a generational thing. And Dr. Danita is saying the same thing. I cannot get with it, whomever is using it. And it could be that I've had a different experience. I've experienced it so much as ER, even when I hear it with the A, it sounds the same to me. It hits my heart the same way to me. Um, and maybe it's a generational thing because Dr. Danita and I, we're peers.
So I'm gonna say
So
this.
she feels the same way. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna say this, Auntie, and I respect that. It's the fact that you said that. Two things is
Hmm.
a thing that these kids say today is called cap. A lot of those people that was on that timeline are capping. If you are a non-black person, depending on how you use the context of the word, you would not stand around a bunch of black people, especially a white person. You would not stand around a bunch of black people and say the word. I don't care if it's ER
I believe that.
or NA. So it's not realistic. Yes, people feel like because you said I say it. No, that's not how it goes. It's our word. It was in terms of endearment for us, not for
See, I gotta
everybody.
challenge you, my nephew.
Okay.
Will never, I will never be able to hear that word as a term of endearment. I just, I
Well, you
just
come.
can't. It
I
it, it gets my innards
No, I got you.
just
So
just going.
the second part was going to say I do use it. However, knowing that you don't like it, I would never use it around you or people who
Mm,
feel a way. Because again, I don't want to be an offense to anybody, right?
I get it. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
However, I've been around so many prominent professional black people who
Hmm.
use it. I'm talking about from judges to my cousin. Not saying John uses it, but you know, attorneys. I have seen doctors.
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of prominent people use it, but we don't use it in mixed company. We use it amongst each other, the
Okay.
same way white people
Yeah.
use it amongst themselves. They use it amongst
Yeah.
themselves. They not gonna tell
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
When they around each other, they calling each other that.
Yeah.
I
Go
think
ahead,
multiple
Kiara.
things, yeah, I think multiple things can be true at once too. Like I think it could
Hmm.
be different for your generation than it is, for the
Hmm. Hmm.
generations from hip hop and beyond, right? Um I think also though, like Rock was saying, it's like a when and where kind of time and place kind of thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do think that matters for sure in terms of
Yeah.
like I wouldn't say it around you, Miss Valerie, right? Like um I wouldn't
But you know
slip
something?
out
Here's the
maybe here
thing.
and there with my mom, even when I say it around my mom, she's like, "Oh my God, why are you saying that?" But I think, it's very different.
Yeah.
I think what
Yeah.
what we've done with the word, is a lot different. But also can understand where you're coming from, right? And the space that
Yeah.
you're coming from
Yeah.
as well.
Mhm.
Now, if it's just us in the room, I would not be as offended if we are in mixed company. I know that may not make sense to anybody but me, but I'm telling you how I feel about it. Because again, I don't want anyone outside of our community to think that it's okay for them to say it. And another thing for me is thinking of my ancestors. I Something that was instilled in me from my mother. My mother was born in 1920 in Virginia. My father was born in 1908. He was a bit older than mama. And when I think about them and I think about the ancestors before them, one thing that has always been on my heart is to live a life that would make them proud. And I have to ask myself, would they be proud of me using that word as a Black woman, knowing the experience they had with it? Now, it's different for the younger generation now, and the ones that are even younger who are 6 and 5 and whatever, they may feel even less uncomfortable with the word. But I don't know, just kind of sticks in my craw. Yeah,
I'm
a little
confused.
bit.
Is it does it you I'm confused. Does it bother you personally or does it bother you in mixed
Hmm.
company? Because the thing is, like for instance, like a guy, I don't like playing around when people, somebody can call me a B, right? You can't tell me
Mm,
that being
hmm.
funny,
Hmm.
you can't tell me that in company, and you can't tell me that in an intimate conversation. All across the board, if you call me a
Right.
B, we got a problem, right? So um I mean,
Okay.
if it's something that's personally
Hmm. Hmm.
offensive,
Hmm.
9 times out of 10, and most, like I've been around Oprah, and she has expressed to a room of us who, she was like, why, because she's an older lady, her experiences, the
Hmm.
things that she's been through, a number of
Hmm.
people that she had interviewed, and and again, we totally get it, but I think there's a bit of a disconnect because we've never had those experiences. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, you
I get
guys are
that.
coming from the 50s. By the time,
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
born in the 70s, so realistically, I didn't know anything that was going on in society wise until the 80s. right? And then in the
Right,
80s,
right.
we were fed so many subliminal shows like the Dukes of Hazard and All in the Family and like all these different type of shows that had that racist tones to them. But to me, they was just
Hmm.
shows. So I did not understand or embrace um, the racial uh,
The
I don't
racial
know the word,
undertones of them. Yeah.
racial undertones that would
Hmm.
affect
Hmm.
my life. You, on the other hand, you
Yeah.
grew up in the '50s, so your effects, and I totally understand with grandma and grandpa, because of what they've been through, and like they have dealt
Yeah.
with racism directly.
Hmm.
And I just feel like in this class of generation of blacks, like we ain't never going back there. And nine, what our grandparents
Well,
and
if our
great
current
grandparents have
administration has
experienced.
anything to say,
Yes, that's why I said, like, I'm not
yeah.
proud of what I did to that man, but I felt like he
Hmm.
learned a valuable lesson when
Okay.
he woke up. When he
I
woke
get
up,
that.
when
Yeah.
he
When he
woke
woke,
up, you know, he learned a valuable
I
lesson.
get it. I get
I'm
it.
not gonna be so loose with my mouth to, talk to a black person like that. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, not for
Okay.
nothing though.
And go ahead, Kiara.
He started the violence. That is violence to say that to a black
There you
person. So
go.
yeah. So I feel like
Yeah.
you responded how you needed to
In
So
respond.
kind.
not well, not for nothing. Now that I'm older, my hands still work, but hitting somebody, you don't want your hand hurting for 2-3 weeks, right? So I have learned, and I'm kind of like pre-coaching
Mhm,
myself
mhm.
that if I ever encounter, especially in these times and days of a lot of these things that's going on, dude in office have awaken a sleeping, or a laying beast. And I kind of want to, I guess, in a sense, learn how to communicate without my hands,
Yeah.
right?
That's good.
I feel like
Yeah.
I have, I'm smart enough to come up with some things that can really poke them,
Hmm.
and it won't result in me getting locked up.
Yeah. So Dr. Danita is asking, do more men use the N word than women? What do you guys think?
I think it's equal. I know men,
Really?
women, older women, young
Yeah.
kids,
See, I
everybody
don't
uses it.
hear women. I don't hear women saying it like I hear men saying it. I don't. Maybe in the hip hop uh music industry and whatnot. But see, that's a different class of woman, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I'm trying not to be judgy, Kiara, but that's a different class. Someone, I'm telling you, I don't, because someone like that Cardi B and that Little Kim, I don't know, is Little Kim still relevant? I don't know.
Lil Kim is very
And the
relevant.
Mhm.
Stallion Girl and all of them, to me, that's a different class of a woman. And it doesn't surprise me when someone of their ilk will use the word, but I'm talking about everyday uh, black women, professional women. You said you've heard it said professionally. I haven't heard professional black women use the word.
Well,
Kiara, you're nodding your
well,
head.
well, not
Have you heard that?
professionally.
Hold on,
They're
Yeah,
I
not
not
want to
saying it
ask.
professionally.
Yeah, I
professionally.
want to ask
Yeah.
Kiara. No, but professional black women, you've heard them out and about using that word, Kiara?
Yeah, me and my girls out at dinner and we talking and yeah, I think for sure amongst us again, right? Like it's not in mixed company ever.
Yeah, not mixed company. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've heard all different types of men, women. Yeah, I just for
Yeah.
sure.
See, me and your mama, we're on the same page. She says she doesn't have any connection with any women who use the N
But
word, and
I'll
neither do
So
also
she
I.
say
may
though,
think.
I'll also say
Um,
though that like I do feel like using the N word is also in conjunction with if you use like African American vernacular English in general, right? So if you don't speak that way in general. Like if you're not using the other kind of
Yeah.
slang terms, it typically is not in your vocabulary, period.
Um, no, but see, I do. See, I have because see, we can code switch.
Yeah,
Okay, I can code switch with the
for
best of
sure.
them.
Yeah.
When listen, when I am with that John Chase right there, and his
Mhm.
brother, and his sister,
Oh
and
yeah.
my husband, and all of their significant others, the way I speak is very, very different
Mm-hmm.
than when I'm on here or when I'm with a client or when I'm in a professional setting. So I get code switching, but even with code switching, I think that there are limits because again, I don't want to give them the impression that it's okay. I remember me and Sidel, my daughter Sidel, we had gone to see The Lion King. And it was we would was it on Broadway or in Philadelphia? I can't remember, but it was The Lion King. And before before the show started, there was a white couple behind us with a little boy who's with uh and Sadell, you'll remember this because she said don't drag her into this, but she'll remember this. And he started singing that um oh, what is his name? The one who played Ray. What's his name? Jamie Foxx
Jamie
song.
Foxx.
I ain't saying she a gold
She a
digger,
gold digger.
but she
Yeah.
ain't messing with
Hmm.
no. And but hold
Broke.
on, when Sadell and I, we both looked at each other because we were just waiting to see if he was going to sing out the N word, and he didn't say it because Mama pinched him.
No,
He
no.
never
It's because
said
you were
it,
at the
but
Lion King.
it was like we were kind of on alert, just waiting to see how they were going to handle that because Jamie Foxx said it as part of the song. So if the little
No.
boy had said it,
How
Again,
old?
he
How old was
wasn't.
he?
what's the proper
He
reaction to
wasn't
that?
in mixed
Because
company. I
he
mean,
was
he was in mixed
probably
company.
9. He's probably 9 or 10. But Jamie Foxx, from my perspective, gave him permission to use it because it's on the airwaves.
I disagree with that because it doesn't give them permission. I can see why somebody might think it gives them permission, but part of it you have to educate yourself. Just because someone else is using the word doesn't mean you have the right to use it. But our obligation as Black people is to help educate people to some extent to tell them when pretty much if you're white, don't stay. Bottom line. Um,
Yeah,
and also not using it from them. But regardless, there's an educational component that comes with it. Just because you hear it doesn't mean you could say it. And somebody around you has to teach you what that word means, how it could be so offensive to so many people, whether it's your parents, your friends, the closest Black person, somebody has to make it known to you,
yeah,
the non-Black, what this word actually means, like you can understand that you shouldn't be saying.
yeah.
And as at 9, 10 years
Exactly.
old, he was probably aware of that, which is why he didn't say it because he saw you and Sidel sitting there. But if he was at home with his mother,
Mhm.
he probably would have
He
said it.
might have said it. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
I'm
But
telling y'all,
I
these
get
people are
that
saying it at
about
home.
the education.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
They
I
say
know they are.
they saying all
Yeah.
the songs.
But
I'm talking about
listen, they cut.
even some of the white executives I work with,
Oh
they are
yeah.
home and they are doing their thing and they singing all the words on karaoke in their house.
I'm sure that they are. John. I remember I was with your Uncle Danny, and me and him and a bunch of people was sitting around talking, and we
Mhm.
were having conversations about race and racism. And he said to me, Val, do you realize we sit up here and we call white folks crackers kind of
Mhm.
repeatedly? He said they're
Yeah,
probably doing the same thing in
Of
their
course.
home,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
calling us, referring to
yeah,
us as the N word.
Of course.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
started. I said,
yes.
you know what? I said, you're right
Hmm.
because
Or
you're in a safe space, but a safe space is different from being in a public space, at least
but
from my perspective.
well, we also have a lot of people who deal with identity crisis. Like identity crisis is a real thing. When I years and years ago, when I
Hmm.
think I want to say I was like 18, and you had like the winter jobs to work at the post office,
Yeah.
and it was this young kid. He had to be, I don't know, 17 or something like that. He was Asian kid, very Asian, right?
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we was sitting at the table one day, and he was just like, "Yeah, niggas." Blah, blah, blah." And so we all looked, and we was like, "Did this kid just say nigga?" We looked at each other, but we always like, "No, he couldn't have said that." So then he was talking
Mm-hmm.
again, and he said it again. And so the older guy who was with us, he said, "I heard you say that the first time." He said, "What?" He said, "You used the N word." He said, "Yeah, what's wrong?" He said, "But you're not black." He said, "My sister, boyfriend is black." That's what he said. That's what he said. And then the older dude said, "Listen, I don't care about your sister's boyfriend being black. I'm gonna tell you, if you use that word again, I'm gonna break your face." He told him that.
Mm-hmm.
And the boy was taken back. He did. You can really tell he did not understand. And I don't know if
Yeah.
what the rapport is with what between the boyfriend and the brother. I don't know what it is, but he really just didn't understand. So the older guy, so I told him, I said, "I think it's better that you explain why."
Why it's not
And
good.
when
Yeah.
he did, the kid kind of got it, but sometimes you have people who just don't want to get it. So he kind
Mm-hmm.
of got it. But I was like, I hope you don't do that around other black people, because you're really going to get yourself hurt.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring that story up
Yeah.
because when I was growing up in Brooklyn in the '90s and early 2000s, it was everybody used it, and I think it was more of like a cultural, environmental thing. Blacks, Asians, Jews, Hispanics, everybody that I ran with would use the
Mm-hmm.
word amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, you're younger, so I guess you're more ignorant at that point. But it's when it's part of the social environment. I think sometimes black folks will let people get away with. At least they did back in my day. But those same
Mm-hmm.
people that we used it back in '98, '99, if I see them today, they won't use it. Now they know better. And
Yeah.
maybe somebody put hands and feet to them. I don't know. But back in those days, it was just part of the culture. It was like hip hop culture in
Hip
Bed-Stuy,
hop.
Flatbush, Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody said it. Didn't
Yeah.
matter your color, your race, your religion. But as you get older
Yeah.
and learn more, you realize you can't use it around people because the older generation might check you, like the guy Rock was talking about. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
they're less forgiving.
We only accepted it honestly from people who of a Spanish descent.
Hmm.
Like, because not for I went to Sheepshead Bay. Sheepshead Bay was very mixed. Even the projects that was right across the street from my school, it was one of the
Mm-hmm.
fewer
Mm-hmm.
project areas that had black, Spanish, Asian, and whites. Yeah, up until that point, me going to school there, I did not know white people lived in projects. But when you look at the vernacular of
Mm-hmm.
like how those people live, the white people that were in those projects, in a sense, act black,
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
right? So I don't,
Mm-hmm.
but I even then I've never heard any of the whites, the Jews, the Asians. I've never heard them use those words, especially in those projects. And you had
Mm-hmm.
the white dudes who acted, but
Hmm.
never heard
Yeah.
them use it.
Yeah. You know something? Um, what's that white boy rapper? That Eminem guy.
Eminem.
Listen, I've never listened to well, I can't I've listened to a few of his songs. I
Mm-hmm.
guess you call them songs. But I've never heard him use the N-word. Have you guys? Has he
He
ever
won't
used that
use it.
N-word in his
No,
song?
He
no,
won't
he
use
won't.
it.
Mm.
He
Yeah.
will not use it.
Okay. Okay. Now, why do you think that is? He's hip hop. He's part of
So
the culture.
yeah, but Eminem. All right, so most you will not hear anybody white in hip hop culture going around using the N word in their music. You just don't have it
Mm.
because
Yeah. Why do you think?
again,
Why do you think they won't?
well, at the I mean at the this is hip hop is black culture. Period.
Period.
So
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
a lot of times we look at these people when they walk in, they are guests to our culture, including Eminem. As credible as a lyricist that he is a guest. And as a guest, when you walk into my house, you have to have respect. At the same
Mm-hmm.
time, a
Mm-hmm.
person like
Mm-hmm.
Eminem, he also knows the history.
Hmm.
He also, most of his friends are black. He's seen their struggle. He's been a part of
Yeah.
their struggle, but he also knows that he's still a white man. He knows
Mm.
that he's
Okay.
very
Okay.
assured of himself. He knows that he's a white man. He knows that he can't
Mm-hmm.
cross certain lines. And I think, like I said, all of the our white MCs, when you look at battle rap, which is far more worse than hip hop music, they
Mm-hmm.
really get at each other and they say some I'm talking about some crazy things, but you will never hear them white boys say anything about no N words. You just don't see
Okay.
it.
Okay. Well, Sadell said that he understands his role in the culture and the history of the word, speaking about Eminem
That's right.
specifically.
That's right. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So I want to ask this: what about within the context of the family? And Kara, I'm gonna ask you to respond to this. How uh, do or how should parents or elders talk to their children about the word? Do you think the message should be never use it, be careful how you use it, or only use it in specific contexts? What are your thoughts with that?
Yeah, I think the conversation should be there's a time and a place. Honestly,
Mm-hmm,
there's a
mm-hmm.
time and a place, and yeah, I don't.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
I don't have children though, and I can't say
Bless you.
if I did
Mhm.
hear my child on the phone get at. I don't know. I don't know, but I think that's more so
Mm,
because I associate the word also with a slew of other slang slash
yeah.
derogatory terms or whatever, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's more about, I think the conversation would just be more about like, are you using it outside the house, where, when, at school, in
Mm,
front of your teachers, or just
yeah.
while you're talking to your friends, like who's around while you're
Mm-hmm,
saying
mm-hmm.
this. Because even though in our community it's endearing, it's viewed as okay, it's acceptable,
Mm-hmm,
there
mm-hmm.
is still a stigma that comes with, like, if I'm thinking, like, if I saw my child, or if my child was in class and the teacher heard, now what does the teacher think of my child, because they're
Right,
using
right.
this kind of language and things like that. And so I think it's more so about like making sure that children understand how the world views them first,
Mm-hmm,
and then making
mm-hmm,
decisions on how
mm-hmm.
you want to show up. I'm not really big on policing black behavior in general. I feel like there's already been enough of that. So I'm very
Yeah,
slow on,
yeah.
like, I go out the house with my bonnet on and my mom's like, "Oh, you got your bonnet on." I'm like, I just I want to protect
See,
my hair.
me and
I got
Dr.
somewhere to
Danita,
go
we
later.
here, we here.
I got somewhere to go later. I don't feel like taking my hair down. Like, it is what it is,
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I'm really slow to, like, kind of police what black people do, because I feel like a lot of it is rooted in white supremacy, and that just is what it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
right. I have to agree with you, John. I don't recall. Did we have conversations about that word when you guys were growing up? Because I know I
Um,
did a lot of Black history teaching
yeah.
with you guys,
Mhm.
but I don't recall talking specifically about that word. Did we ever talk
I
about it?
I don't remember having like this big conversation about it, but you did such a good job of teaching us Black history in general, where it must have come up. And I
Mm,
don't think you ever told us like it's okay to use it or distinguish the ER versus the A. You just taught us what the word was, and it was in literature that we read, movies that we watched. So we just
mm,
knew what it meant. And I think the general understanding was to not use it ever. But then as we got more exposed to hip hop culture, we sort of learned on our own that there is another use of it. So I think in
okay.
addressing your question, the duty of a parent is to start with the history of the word. If you want to teach your kid anything, you start from a historical context, because they need to get, particularly if you're black, you got to get the full context and the history behind it, because you need to know
Yeah,
where you came from. You need to know that this word was used in awful ways, and then eventually, make your own decision if you're going to use it or accept other people's use of it. But you can't
yeah, yeah.
have the conversation without addressing the hard ER and the racist use behind it. And I think
Yeah.
that's sort of,
True.
I think that was your approach. I don't remember sitting down and talking about it, but it's just,
Mm.
we learned Black history
Okay.
from like 4 years old and on. So it was part of it.
Yeah, y'all sure did.
Mhm.
So let me ask your thoughts about how you might navigate that conversation with Emmy Girl and Eli.
Um, yeah, because
Yeah. Mhm.
anybody watching my children, they're biracial, so I'm not sure, honestly. I don't know. That's a conversation I'm dreading
Mhm.
having because the world isn't the same today as it was when I was a kid. I've tried very hard to try to give my children the same upbringing that I had, but it's not possible because the
Mhm.
world has changed so much. Like
True.
their emotions are different, their access to information is different, people they are around are
Yeah.
different. So
Yeah.
I have no idea, um, but I'm probably going to just give it to them straight up, let them know the history behind it, and I hope
Mhm.
that their first exposure and conversation about it is with me as opposed to at school with a teacher who
Oh
might be
yeah.
white or one of their little white friends who doesn't really understand it because they might have seen it on YouTube or social media and they might just start using it
Yeah.
in front of my children and my children don't know what it means. And I don't know when's the right time to have it. And kids
Yeah.
tend to repeat what you tell them. So even if I sit them down today and said, here's the history behind the word, went through a long conversation with them, they might go to school and start calling their friends, and
Yeah.
then
Well,
they get
I know
blackballed.
Eli probably would. I don't know about
Yeah,
Emmy Girl, but Eli
yeah,
might.
they're
Yeah.
they're wild. So
And
I don't know. I have to have a conversation. I'm just not sure.
you're not
I'm
sure
just gonna go
when
with my gut.
or
Yeah, I'm
how.
not sure when or
Yeah.
how, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see.
I get that. And you know something, I would probably, Rock, you spoke earlier about laying hands and feet on someone. I would
Mhm.
be much quicker to do that if someone used that word against one of my grandbabies than I would if they
Mhm.
used it against me. Because if they use it against my grandbabies, I'm sorry, them's fighting words. And all
Mhm.
my Brooklyn is gonna come out at that point. If they use
Mhm.
it against me, I may be able to handle it more calmly, but no, not when it comes to my grandbabies. No, I catch
Well,
space
so
for them
so the
children.
so the thing is, when the devil works, when he can't get to you,
Mhm.
attack your children, or he'll attack your finances, or
Hmm.
he'll
Hmm.
attack something of value to you, right? And it's to trick you out of your space, right? And so that's why I said, um, for me, growing up in Brooklyn, like I'm everything, the epitome of Brooklyn. I'm blue Yankee hats and Timberlands.
Hmm.
I'm that.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
along with that comes you get a Brooklyn attitude, like you said, code switching. I'm probably one of the code switch kings because I'm in every type of room, whether it be church or
Hmm.
corporate or at the at the projects or all these different type of things. So I code switch
Hmm.
everywhere.
Hmm.
My kids, they don't. I've never heard them use it. I've never heard them use it, and I think it's more based on the caliber of schooling that they've gone to and the kids they are around. So
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
however, they do curse, and I caught them cursing when they was playing video games. So that's just a different story. Uh,
Mhm.
but
Hmm.
like John said, like these caliber kids are different today. They don't. The information is different. The way that they interact with each other is very different. Like I was one of those
Hmm.
kids who had to be outside. So and then not for nothing, when I didn't live in the projects, I was one of those kids where I wanted to go to the projects because that's where my friends were. So around those kids, that's where you got, the parents calling them and the N word and, you know, maybe even curse them
Yeah.
out. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's something that is generational. That's what something that their parents did, and you know, and not for nothing. Like I said, as you get older, you want better for your children, and so
Hmm.
you tend to do things or reward them different ways that they're not going to get what my project passed. You know what I'm saying? You're not going. My kids know zero about the projects. They want to go party there, but then I'm like, well, you're not going to no projects to go to nobody's party. Go sit
Yeah.
behind
Listen, when I
them.
when John, when me and
Hmm.
your Uncle Mike and Uncle Joe were growing up, listen, if we even thought about going into the projects, that was an ass whooping. Mama said, y'all bet not go up in them projects. I didn't go. Mike and Junior went, but
Yeah,
I didn't go because see, I was scared of a whooping.
it's a different life. It's a different lifestyle. Honestly, I'm grateful for growing up there. I'm grateful for my Sumner family and growing up in Vanderbilt and
Hmm.
like growing up in these places because the caliber of people help you build a certain type of character when you're around them.
Yeah.
Right? And so it has afforded me, like I said, it has allowed me to go into different rooms and code switch,
Yeah.
whatever I need
Yeah.
to do or wherever I need to get. And I try to teach that to my kids. Um, they really don't get it. These kids today are not, as much as I try to push, like John said, you want to teach them about, Black history and, the things that they
Hmm.
learn and why the
Hmm.
N word is important. And, of course, we got to have that conversation with our Black sons about, what to do when a police officer approaches
Yeah.
you. And, we have to prepare our children. But it's
We
like
do.
these kids are so resilient and wanting to know about things in the past that you kind of gotta drill it into them, or they
Hmm.
kind of wait for the experience to happen,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
which could
But
result in it
I
being too
agree
late.
with yeah, I absolutely agree with educating them. Because listen, I already started teaching Black history to my grandchildren. I had not
Yeah,
Sanaya writing book reports when she was over here. Remember how I used to make you all write book reports every
Hmm.
summer, John?
Yep.
I
I
had
never forget.
Sanaya write, writing book reports. I had her
yeah,
reading material and then write a report on it. I didn't start with the others yet because Sanaya is 10
yeah.
and the others are younger. But it is something that I do think we have to teach our children. So, as we kind of wrap up our conversation tonight, what do you foresee or what would you like to see in terms of the legacy of that word as we move forward in history?
The legacy of the word.
Hmm.
Um, honestly, as long as hip hop music is in existence, that word will be around forever. That's just honestly what I believe. It is embedded in the culture, and again, it depends on who it's coming from and how it's used. And it's always been like that, and I honestly believe it will always be that way. It's the same way as racism. Like racism, I don't ever see it going anywhere.
Yeah.
As we like it to go away, but it's just here.
Yeah. Okay. Kiara or John, how do you respond to
Um,
that?
I think I would say the same. Um, I would love to see white people move away from the conversation of like, can we use it, can we not, why can't you use it, we can't, which I do think is happening, right? I think what I see on social media is a lot. We're very big on cancel culture right now. You say you're out of here, right?
Mm.
And so I
Mm-hmm.
think it's becoming a lot more like, oh no, let me really, really make sure like I don't say this in front of the wrong people and things like that. So I think, in terms of the way Black people use it, I have no qualms at the moment. And I don't see,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of legacy, like the way it's going is fine. But I would love to see the white community kind of move away from,
Yeah, I agree with that.
you know, trying protesting to use it.
Okay, I get
We
that.
Yeah.
want to
Jono?
use it.
Mm-hmm.
My Bluetooth got disconnected, so can you still hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
What I'd like to see is non-blacks using it less amongst themselves. And I'll contextualize that. If you watch on social media a lot, I see a lot of like just whites interacting with each other, just calling each other the N-word, like it's cool. And I don't think they
Mm,
fully understand the history behind it. I think that's a huge problem if you have whites using it as a term of endearment amongst themselves. It's one thing if you're integrated in the black community and we allow you to use it among us because we think you're one of us or whatever. But y'all are just
mhm.
with your own people using that word amongst yourselves because you think it's cool or for some other reason, ignorance. I don't know. Maybe it's stupidity, but I'd like to see less of that. You're never going to get
Yeah.
rid of the word. The people who use it in a racist manner with the hard ER, they're going to keep doing it. You're not going to stop them from doing that. You can't
Yeah.
litigate away racism. You can't educate away from that. If you're racist, that's what you are. You're going to use it. So it's not going to go anywhere. And ultimately, I also like to see black people educate themselves more before they start using it so freely, even amongst ourselves
Mm,
in closed circles, because I don't
mhm.
think a lot of younger people really know the history behind that word. They've only been exposed to it through hip hop music or movies and things like
Yeah.
that. They weren't forced to sit down like I was and learn black history. They might not have parents and grandparents who only heard it in a derogatory manner. So you got to educate yourself, and that burden falls primarily on my generation, I think, because the kids behind us are my children, and people of my age range. We're
Yeah.
tasked with educating the 20-year-olds, the 21-year-olds, the 15-year-olds, because you know
Mhm. Mhm.
the great grandparents, they're long gone. They're not going to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
education and discretion, I think, is the big takeaways for me in terms of learning about it
Okay.
and
I
when and
like
where to
that.
use it.
Education and discretion. I like that. And you know, if I had my druthers, I would like the word not to be used at all. But as all of you have indicated, it's not going anywhere. The word is here. It's here to stay. But to your point, John, I think the further away we move it generationally, the less
Hmm.
the people in our community are going to know about it. And
Right.
if the current administration has their way, all of our history will be eradicated,
Yeah.
including how that word was used. So that, that concerns me because we need to know our history. Um, I don't recall who said it, but if we don't know our history, that we are doomed to repeat it. And not for nothing, part of what's trying to be done now, this whole make America great again. Great. When is the era in which it was great, and for whom was it great? So on that political soapbox,
That's
but
for the next
that
episode.
is one of my concerns. All right, that's a concern of mine. 15 years from now, 20 years from now, will who is going to be left to do the teaching? Who's going to do it? Will anybody care
A lot of
to
people
do
looking for
the
the rapture
educating?
now because
And
the
and
way
that's what that's what scares me, and that's what concerns me. Who's going to be here? And 20 years from now, I may not be here, and if I am, uh, I I'm not so sure that I'm going to be so inclined to do a lot of educating still at that point,
so
or 30 years from now, or 50 years from now. So my hope and my prayer is that there will always be a group of individuals who see it as part of their purpose to make sure our history is maintained and make sure our history is taught accurately
I
from
still think we
our
have
own
that though.
perspective. Yeah, I
I
mean,
still
we
think
have
we
it now, but I'm talking about as we move forward.
no. I think we still have it because thinking back from when I was in school, like as a
Hmm.
child, they were still talking about Christopher Columbus in 1492, right? But I didn't learn. I learned
Yeah.
about Mensa Musa from home. You know,
Hmm.
about Marcus Garvey from home. I know Mount
Yeah, but see,
Dr.
but
Martin
Rock,
Luther
hold on
King.
1 second. But
Mhm.
that's my point because your mom and I are peers.
Yeah.
But eventually, we're going to be gone. Eventually, you're going to be gone. Eventually, John and Kiara, y'all are going to be gone. So, my hope is that the proper educating of our young people will continue, no
Well,
matter what the political
no.
climate is.
What I was saying was, even in our education growing up, we were still getting taught, the white structure of how this country was built, right? I'm seeing
Yeah.
way more black people taking the rings of wanting our children to learn black history. I don't care, honestly. I really don't care what they do in terms of eradicating things and books and movies and all these other. They've been doing that.
Hmm.
They every part of our history is about American history, and it's only placated to white men. That's why when we look at movies, I was telling a friend of mine, I'm tired of I don't want to see not one more slavery movie. I don't want to,
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
right? Because that's
Right.
not our history. That's our American
Right.
history. But what about before that?
Before that.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Right.
I think we are taking the rings again. It's kids have become so attached to these phones and the information, but the information they get, we're battling against TikTok, IG, Facebook,
Mm,
all the little programs
mhm.
they come up with, and it's hard to keep a kid's attention. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm afraid of,
Yeah.
the attention factor.
Yeah.
But a lot of kids,
Well,
there are
yeah,
kids who
that's a
want to
good point.
learn. Yeah, there are kids
Yeah.
who do want to learn about their
Yeah.
history. Yeah.
Well, Sadell said, I think we have enough folks out there outraged at what they are attempting to do to our history that it won't get completely eradicated. I agree.
Hmm.
Both black and others, I've learned just as much as an adult as I did growing up. Yeah. And that's what we should be, lifelong learners.
Hmm.
I don't care how old we get. We should always be, and not just lifelong learners, but don't gatekeep what you learn. Pass it on.
Yeah.
Share what you know. Even if you know a little bit, if that's a little bit more than the next person knows, share that knowledge with them, whatever that might be and whatever it might look like.
Hmm.
So anyhow, thank you guys. I can't believe that hour went by so
I know.
Yes.
incredibly fast. Oh,
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
happens every single time.
Now I see why
Oh, I
drink
want to
champs have
have
two
you guys
hours.
say what? Say what? What you
Now I
say,
see
Rob?
why drink shows like drink champs have 2 hours.
Oh, okay, okay. You said a drink champ. Who
That's
Drink
is
that's a
he?
is the
podcast.
podcast. It's a
Yeah,
popular
from a
podcast.
rapper named Nori.
Oh,
And they said the
Nori?
N word a
I didn't
lot. So you
know
don't
him.
want to watch.
Hmm.
Oh, I ain't gonna watch them.
Nah, you
I ain't
don't
gonna
like
watch
it.
But anywho, yes, I appreciate you guys being here and agreeing to have this conversation with me tonight. I appreciate you, and I'm going to send you some more upcoming podcast topics, and let your sister know
Yeah.
All right.
if you want to be on one again. So next week we're going to be talking about something that I just learned. Because anytime I learn about something interesting to me, I think maybe there's a couple of folk that it might interest them as well. And that is the term, and that's something known as relationship OCD. We know what OCD is, but then there's such a thing as a relationship OCD. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week, and I'm going to have a previous guest on, Dr. Angel Wyndham, will be back to share that with us next week. So, again, thank you guys. Thank anyone who was out there watching. If you haven't already done so, I would appreciate if you subscribe, like, and share. Marriage Beyond
There you go.
Marriage Beyond the Breach. I always get to mention Marriage Beyond the Breach, but it's Marriage Beyond the on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and kind of sort of on TikTok. TikTok. Tik TikTok. I am learning how to navigate that. So, anywho, I hope you all will come back again on next week. Love you guys.